You're listening to the Himal Southasian podcast, Partitions of the Heart, Conversations with Harsh Mander. This is Season 1, Muslim Life and Death in Modi's India.
Hello, friends. Welcome to this new episode of the series that we are doing. I'm Harsh Mander, and with Himal, which has been sort of telling the story of South Asia for the last 35 years. We're talking about the crises of India's Muslims in this series. I have great pleasure to introduce you to speak with Aman Wadud. I was thinking back, how long have I known him? It really dates back to 2014. It was when the election campaigning was for the general elections in 2014 were at its height. And a massacre broke out in a district in a very remote village in the district Baksa, where you had to cross across rivers and enter forests, where a group of gunmen came in and they slaughtered about 50 women and children mainly. And I had gone there, 42, okay. And I had gone there initially as a fact-finding, as part of a fact-finding team. And in a sense, I never left after that. The enormity of the suffering and the injustice held me in Assam. And I had made a call for young people to volunteer. And foremost among them was this young law graduate called Aman Wadud in Guwahati. If in the entire dispute about citizenship, and people being deemed foreigners, people detained in the detention centers, Aman Wadud is the person people turn to with the greatest trust. Aman Wadud also went off, I think, to the US for a year for his LLM and in Houston, and then he had many opportunities to stay on there, but he said, "I love my country and I must go back." And here he's back. He's now an equally active lawyer, but also recently has formally joined politics. I think the Indian National Congress. Why don't we start with a little bit about, I spoke briefly about this journey of 11 years. Would you like to tell us a little more about this journey?
Um, I was in Delhi till December 2013, and so from 2011 to 13 I was in Delhi, and I wanted to become a big time lawyer, but I realized that the scale of problem Assam is facing, I can't do much from Delhi, so that's what made me come back to Assam. And when I was in Assam, so it's always not very easy to start off what to do, how to do. So that was a period where I was thinking, how can I make difference? uh, so I met you at the Guwahati Town Club, where I was asked to uh, gather some people for some talk on what was happening. As you On 2nd of May, there was a massacre in Baksa district, at a small village called Narayanguri, across uh, uh, adjacent to Manas National Park. So it was then I met you. I exactly remember the conversation, and I told you, I asked you this, what can I do? This is what you asked me, that what is your profession? I said, I'm a lawyer. I have a law degree. I'm practicing here. So you told me to record 164 statement. He said there are victims. You record 164 statement. So that I remember that conversation, and that sort of become like my agenda for the next few months.
So, so just to interrupt you, I'll explain what this 164 is about to our listeners. Uh, See, the children, when I went, the children knew who were the killers. They remembered they knew every detail. They were not strangers who had come in. And I had felt that, and Sam has a sad history of complete impunity after communal violence. Nelly is arguably at least one or two of the worst communal massacres happened in 1983 in Nelly. And you would find it hard to believe that not a single person has even been prosecuted, let alone charged with that massacre, also concentrating on women and children. And so we were determined that after this massacre in Buxa, the same story of impunity should not happen. And it was very clear to me that if the statements of the children were taken, we didn't depend on the police to take their statements. They were presented before a magistrate, and that is a responsibility that Aman took up. That was the 164 statements. So over back to
Yeah.
you, Aman.
So
Yes.
so that sort of become my single-minded agenda for the next few months. And considering the fact that I was here, uh, you know uh, uh, shifted from Delhi, and then I was almost a briefless lawyer, so I had a lot of time. But those foundational years were very, very important to understand the helplessness of the people, how system works, how it doesn't work, and how uh, my involvement can make so much of difference to the lives of the people. I have seen how women who came to Guwahati for the first time, because uh, um, I also helped them. I filed an application before the NI court to become the lawyer of the victim. So I facilitate their journey to Assam, to Guwahati, and there was certain woman who was an eyewitness who came to Guwahati for the first time. And generally, in these massacre cases, in these mass murder cases, there are no witness, or they don't depose in a proper manner. So after
And they're not even allowed to. And then, the police doesn't even allow them
yes, yes.
to depose.
So it was a great learning experience. I think probably the biggest lesson from that learning is from that episode, from working with these people, was that that um, uh, they are the most important part of it, not the one who are working with them or surrounding them. They are the main character, and their grievance should come to the fore. The way courageously they deposed before the court was very, very inspiring. And I got a lot of courage from them. Actually, they have lost everything. Some lost their husbands, some children. Mostly, I think 22 children were there. Most of them lost their children, and the way they narrated their story, the courage that they exhibited was very, very inspiring. I couldn't have dreamed for a more inspiring case than this in my very formative years.
Yes, Aman, and I've you worked with human rights for so long, and I've always believed that human rights needs to be embedded very, very deeply in in a sense of compassion and empathy, and also unshakable commitment and faith and respect in the victim survivor, all of which you demonstrated, admirably. And so we got the first conviction ever for a communal massacre in this matter. And I think you set off on your journey. So, Aman, I'll come to a particular landmark intervention that we did together on the detention centers a little later. But just, you've often said that among all the Muslim community in India is facing a very difficult time of persecution and stigmatization. But you often tell me that you believe that the Bengali Muslim, uh, the, uh, the Muslim Assamese of Bengali origin is perhaps the most persecuted community of all, even within the larger story of persecution. So, would you like to explain why do you feel this? Because there's Kashmir as well, and there's lynching across the country. What is it specifically about the Bengali origin Assamese Muslim that makes their situation so terrifying?
I think there is a process of disowning the Muslim all over the country. In Assam, I think it is very important to understand this mass of Muslim population here. So there are various kind of Muslims. The Assam is populated with Muslims since I think 12th century, since in the 1220 1220 28, when Alauddin Khilji tried to invade Assam. So he left some soldiers, and since then, the presence of Muslims in Assam is felt. Those are regarded as indigenous Muslim. But the Muslims who are under heat, who we consider the most persecuted in India, are the Bengali Muslims. This part of the Assam, the part of the northeast, is now connected with India with the chicken neck, I think some 22-kilometer wide corridor. So we are surrounded with Bangladesh and other countries, but large part of northeast is the neighboring country is Bangladesh. So like I see the migration from present day Bangladesh to Assam through my family history. So my great grandfather was born in Pabna, present day Bangladesh, and around 1870s. Uh, because we don't have a written history, but it's an oral history, because 30 years before the birth of my grandfather, my great grandfather came to present the Dhubri district. Then it was Goalpara. So then he lived 30 years for there, and they all migrated through river.
Substantially, it was land hunger and the oppression of the zamindars in East Bengal, which drove people, landless people, and small marginal farmers to seek new places. Am I right?
Correct. Till independence, this process continued. The process of migration continued, but there was also resistance from this side, because a lot of vacant uh, fertile lands were being taken up by the farmers, by the Muslim peasants. So post independence, there was this lot of atrocities, lots of arbitrary evictions. A lot of people also went back. Uh, uh, at 1951 census, uh, the Muslim population was 24 more than 24%, between 24 and 25%. This is 1951 census, and this was in the Assam was not just the geographical Assam today, but it includes Meghalaya, Arunachal, Nagaland. So these are all part of Assam. Then the population was 24%. Uh, for few years, although that there was time to time there was quit India notice being sent. There were evictions by under different governments, but not you know uh, mass movement that about so-called illegal migrations. Uh, After, during this Bangladesh movement, Bangladesh freedom movement, then a lot of Bengali Hindus came, and they were given refugee certificate or migration certificate before 1971, and those people were regulated by the Assam Accord. So this after 1979 there was an election, and when the allegation of a lot of about so-called Bangladeshis in the voter list came. And if there was a spike, not necessarily it was because of illegal migrants, and it was because of Bengali Muslim shifting from one district to another district. So there was a long, movement, 6-year long Assam movement, and then the Citizenship Act was amended, the Assam Accord was brought in, the cutoff date for India was made, 25th March 1971. 6A came into the Citizenship Act, which has recently been upheld by the Constitutional Bench of the Honorable Supreme Court. But
Could you explain what changed in the citizenship law and how did it affect Bengali Muslims?
see, I mean, because there was the 6A was brought in, and it was 6A.
What-
Anyone who came before 1/1/1966 is an Indian citizen. From 1/1/1966 to 25th March 1971, if they are regarded to have migrated during this time, their voting rights will be taken away for 10 years, and then they are regular citizen. But what happened? There is a narrative which was built for a long period of time after the amendment of the Citizenship Act, that everyone who came here, we have regulated you. Now, from independence to 1/1/1966, probably that 6A will help them. What about people who came much before partition, or till one day before partition, right? So you don't need that 6A. So this kind of authority is imposed, that we have done you a favor. By 6A, we have done you a favor. Favor to whom? My great grandparents and many people, as C.S. Mulan says, around 500,000 people, as Radha Kamal Mukherjee says, around 1,000,000 people till 1930. What about 1930 to partition? So a lot of people migrated, as the census report says, more than 24% population was Muslims, and large chunk was Bengali Hindus. So 6A did not regulate these people. They did not bring a regulation, right? Anyone who was here in the territory of India from the commencement of the Constitution is an Indian citizen, right? This
But-
citizen.
But for the Bengali Muslim, suddenly the belonging that to this country that you took for granted suddenly was brought into question. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that was a long process, and there was a process of acceptance, because see, Bengalis are very touchy about their mother tongue, touchy about the language. But our ancestors, the great grandfather generations, they started. I think the first Assamese school set up by a Bengali Muslim was 1898. So they started setting up Assamese medium, going to Assamese medium school, not Bengali medium school. The Bengali Muslim belt would be from Morigao to say Dhubri, and I would be surprised. I bet you will not find even one Bengali medium school. Bengali is there in Barak Valley, where uh, the both Bengali, Sylheti Muslims, and Kachari and Sylheti Muslims, and Hindus, they all go to Bengali medium school, and even the official language there in the courts and all is also Bengali. But here, Bengali was not the language; it was Assamese. So there was a process of assimilation during the when this language bill passed in the assembly, all these Bengali Muslims MLA, they voted for the Assamese language. So what more than adopting a language, what more can happen in the process of assimilation than giving up your mother tongue? And that too, Bengalis who are so touchy about the language give up the mother tongue and took up Assamese. Even in the census also we write Assamese as our mother tongue. Uh, but despite everything, so there was a process of disowning. Now there could be an allegations. People were concerned about the spike in the voter list, which was very very misplaced. That fear was misplaced. Of course, the people, persecuted Bengali Hindus came. They were eventually regulated. They were made citizens by the 6A. But then when the movement started, then everyone who migrated since ever, you know, were targeted, were branded as Bangladeshis. Uh, and after the Assam movement, there was a calm for several for 2 decades, about 2 decades. Uh, so when I was growing up in the 90s, I was mostly into cricket and schooling. So as any young Indian kids in the 19 used to do, singing Bollywood songs. That time it was radio, no phone, no TV. So radio, cricket commentary on radio, movie songs on radio. I think that's how I picked up Hindi, from Hindi movie songs. Uh, but when I came to Guwahati, so till then I had absolutely no idea about this narrative, this dominant narrative that Bengali Muslims are seen as outsiders, seen as others, seen as Bangladeshis, as illegal migrants. Uh, this is in 2002 when I came to Guwahati for my class 11th. Uh, Probably in November, December, one of my batchmates, I had an argument with him and he abused me as Bangladeshis. So that actually hit me very very hard. And when I look back, there were some moments which actually changed uh, the trajectory of whatever I am today. So that day uh, was a decider probably. And so through my journey, I'm trying to explain.
Right,
Uh,
absolutely.
so in 2000, I think 2007, probably 7 or 8. So there was a riot broke out in Udalguri. It was about a Muslim flag, but some news channel portrayed, a English news channel, they portrayed as the Pakistani flag. So apparently that was the catalyst for that riot. And probably around 70 people died. So I bought a TV in my room in Bangalore to watch T20. This is the first T20 World Cup 2007. So then I used to, because my English was not that good, my accent was not that good. So I thought that I will watch lot of news channel, and that will also increase my, because I was a civil servant aspirant then, that will increase my vocabulary, also my English accent. So I used to watch news a lot. So then I saw the headline. I knew that there is something wrong going on in Assam. So the headline was the clash between Bangladeshis and tribals. So this is how it is being portrayed. Those are Muslims. I visited that place later on, and I saw, they told me how apparently, a lot of atrocities happen from the defense forces also. So I called up the news channel. I found out number from internet and I called them up. I said, sir, I belong to Assam, and I saw your news and it says clash between Bangladeshis and tribals. And where did you find this news? Where did you find these Bangladeshis? So I remember he told me, we found it from service people. Probably they were talking about defense personnel. So I said, sir, please verify this news. This is wrong. There is a clash between this. One group is Muslims and other are not Muslims, right? Even I think you should not, name a religion. Say clash between two groups, between two communities. Why do you say clash? So then they change the news. They send me a text, says, please watch our news at 3 p.m. And the 3 p.m. they change the news, clash between Muslims Muslims and tribals. So from Bangladeshis, they came to Muslims. But still, like I said, when there is a communal riot, don't, to name to any two religion is not appropriate. If they want to report, they say there is a clash between two communities. Why, incite people? So that made me realize that my intervention can actually change things. So I think that was the day when I decided that I should become a lawyer, because otherwise, if I become a civil servant, not that I was bound to become a civil servant, but even if I become a civil servant, uh, I will not be able to do probably this kind of things. And then I this is one thing in my mind, that I want to become the spokesperson of my community. I want to speak the truth, that I am not Bangladeshi, that I belong to this country. So whenever this kind of, then I read, you go back to the history, whenever take Nelly, read those reports in India Today, read New York Times. There was a massacre in Chaul, almost 500 people were killed, or probably more. This is 1983 report. The New York Times says there are suspected Bangladeshis. I don't want to name the particular gentleman who was the New York Times reporter, but the New York Times reported that. India Today reported 1983 that Bangladeshis were killed. In 1983, where there is a massacre where Bengali Muslims, the official toll is around 1,800, but people say there are more than 3,000 people were killed in an around 6 hours period of time. And today, in Delhi, and today if you listen to Praveen Togadia, he says, अगर कहीं पे दंगा होता है तो नेली जैसे होना चाहिए कि उनका 1000 मारे, हमारा एक खरोच भी ना आए. Factually, that was what happened. I mean, it was one-sided. It was a massacre. I mean, apparently more than 3,000, most women and children were killed. So the narrative was that it's Bangladeshis, as if killing Bangladeshis is fine.
So you feel that the Bengali Muslim is the most oppressed community within the, even within the larger Muslim community in India, because their right to belong, their belonging itself is continuously questioned and challenged. I remember actually in my office, there were two young people talking. One was Kashmiri, one was Assamese, and both were saying who is in a worse position. So they said that the Kashmiri, the problem is that they say you are to the Bengali, the Bengali Assamese is saying I belong to this country, and you are told you don't belong. The Kashmiri said that if we say we don't belong to this country, you're told you do belong. So there are clashes of belonging on both sides, belonging and unbelonging in a sense. But Aman, I'd like to cover the ground after 2014 and with the whole NRC process and so on. In your engagement with it, briefly, I think the most critical thing was the turning around of the burden of proof. So every resident of Assam had to prove that they belonged, that they were nationals of this country, with vintage documents that most of us would never have been able to produce. And if you cannot produce the documents, you are declared to be a foreigner. There was also election records where they said D-voter means you're not. Can you describe that process and what it did to the Bengali Muslim community and to the Bengali Hindu community as well?
Yeah. So, as I was narrating, about how Muslims are seen as outsiders and Bangladeshis. So this also, of course, includes the Bengali Hindus also. But yeah, the pressure on Bengali Muslims, the ostracization of Bengali Muslims was much more. So there is a process in Assam of, as a Foreigners Act is there. In between there was IMDT Act, but that was set aside. So according to the Foreigners Act, so since what happens in 1985 after the Assam Accord, so there was a concept of the 3D, detect, delete and deport. So detection of foreigners, deletion of the names from the voter list, and deporting them. And so since then, people are accused of being foreigners. It was mostly border police. So border police very randomly, they accuse people as illegal migrant. One of the prime example is Muhammad Sanaullah Ajmal Haq. So what happened with Sanaullah is that he was an army officer for 30 years who served in Kargil, for long period in Kashmir. And in 2011, 2010-11, he was posted in Manipur for a counter-insurgency operation called Hifazat, which is security. So it was then the border police was, faking document, forging signatures to make him Bangladeshi, accuse him Bangladeshi. The same happened with his cousin Ajmal Haq. He was also, served the Indian Army for 30 years, junior commissioned officer. And then he was also accused of being illegal migrant. So this is how randomly, people are accused of being illegal migrant. In 1997, the Election Commission of India, they started scrutinizing voter list. And if you talk to any civil servant, honest civil servant who worked in that process, so basically hundreds and thousands of, people were marked as D voter or doubtful voter. Just D was put before the name, no investigation, nothing. As you heard the story of Sanaullah, he was in Manipur protecting India, and the local Thana, the border police was charge sheeting him as Bangladeshi. So this kind of, I have, hundreds of cases I have fought till now. And very responsibly, I want to state with all conviction that I have not come across one Bangladeshi. And all these cases, either Bengali Hindu or Bengali Muslim, all these cases where people are accused of being foreigners are Indian citizen. And of so many cases that I deal with, it is not a case of undocumentation. A lot of people try to, they want to, dignify the entire the nomenclature, because in America it's a dignified word to call it as an undocumented than, calling them illegal migrant. Illegal migrant is a statutory word, but undocumentation does not apply to the case of Assam, because people are not undocumented. If you go back to the history as I have narrated it, there are people here since, hugely populated. This land was hugely populated with Muslims at the time of the independence. So people have document, and because, from time to time there were evictions, our home was burned down 3 times before the British came and gave us land documents in 1938. So that was, the documentation was always very, very, the Bengali Muslims were very, very, very conscious about documentation. And the government here have also, so if you require a 1966 voter list, you don't have to go back to your home and search it. You can just find out, because the village headman has a set of general document. But if you go to the election office, they have the archive. They are the custodian of those documents. You can file a certified copy, you can get those documents. Right. So all those cases, like in Sanaullah case, he submitted 26 documents before the tribunal. And one of the document was a certificate issued by the President of India, where Sanaullah was commissioned as junior commissioned officer. APJ Abdul Kalam was the president then. And that was a document before the tribunal. And tribunal rejected those documents, saying that, these are not verified by the issuing authority. So look at the attitude. The burden of proof is on the, even if you commit a crime, the burden of proof is on the state. But if your citizenship is questioned, the burden of proof is on you to prove that you are an Indian citizen. So basically, you will have to submit a document, submit all the documents, and look at the arbitrary process. If you look at any criminal trial, there is an FIR. Why FIR? Because you will have to commit some kind of crime. There should be some kind of crime. Without crime, there wouldn't be FIR. There is a cause of action. And then there will be investigation, there will be charge sheet, then you will face the trial. And the burden of proof is on the state to prove that you have committed the crime. Look at this in this process. If you are accused of being a foreigner, again, I want to repeat, I have not come across one case where the border police has investigated in a proper manner. the de-voter thing, more than 3,000 people and 3 lakh people, and it was mostly Bengali. 60% probably was Bengali Hindus, were arbitrarily marked as de-voter, disenfranchised that day. From that day, they could not vote, and eventually their case was sent to the tribunal. Not all, because 90,000 cases are still not before the trial court, because there is no back-end documents, because the arbitrary method was so, the method was so arbitrary, the process was so arbitrary, that they just marked D and without any back-end paper, so they could not refer the cases.
So, what was the human cost of all of this, Aman? What suffering did it cause on
Yeah,
people who were
if you draw a parallel with the FIR, and
stood?
you can just the impact, the psychological impact, the pressure that is on you to engage a lawyer. But here, first of all, you have not committed any offense. It is just your identity, either you are a Bengali Muslim or a Bengali Hindu. You are accused of being illegal migrant. There are people from other communities also who have been accused, because the process was so arbitrary, that randomization was so high, that a lot of people uh, were accused. Recently, some 28,000 cases from a community was removed by some government. So, so the moment you are accused of being an illegal migrant, you will have to prove it. How? By submitting document before 1971, 1966. So, like I say, that you don't have all the document at your home. You need to take a lot of certified copies from the government agencies. You need to engage a lawyer, and then you will have to prove your citizenship. And how do you do that? Before a setup which is so, who's inherently there is a feeling that, the moment, uh, the presumption of non-citizenship.
Yep. But Aman, we were still trying to see what human cost did all of this
So,
entail?
amidst this presumption of non-citizenship, amidst the law that the burden of proof is on you, which is regarded as a draconian law, in this setup, in this environment, and who are you? Army people are very handful of them, mostly poor people. Most of the people who have been accused of being illegal migrant or Bangladeshis are extremely poor. As I say that, they get the legal fees to engage a lawyer, or to get a document. Either they will have to sell off the cattle, in many cases residential plot, and their lifetime earning, to get this document to defend your citizenship. You are basically fighting against the system, a system that is accusing of you of being not from India. Your entire existence is questioned, and people have given up their life. One of the first person was a Bengali Hindu, Nirod Boron Das. He 1967 matriculate. That document was enough for him. But when there is this, like what this government does, bringing some legislation, but the messaging that comes around with the legislation, arbitrary legislation the government is bringing. The same thing also happened to the NRC. The messaging that, weed out illegal migrants, catch them. So this Nirod Boron Das, he committed suicide because he failed to locate one of his documents. When does people give up their life? There was one Assamese gentleman. He went to the NRC Seva Kendra many times. He could not locate his document. He hanged himself. When does a person take extreme step? So, to put my case forward, so 2018, when the first list of NRC came, so 40 lakhs, 4 million people were excluded, and they were given another chance to apply. So, and there was an SOP by the central government, which was submitted to the Supreme Court, ratified by the Supreme Court. So, according to the SOP, if anyone wants to claim again, if excluded from the first list, you claim again, then you will have to submit your biometrics. So I received this call. It was in 2018, and that man was 77 years old then. He's a Bengali Hindu professor, a retired mathematics professor of Dorang College. Dorang College, for the viewers, is regarded as the second best college in Assam. So he says that my name is not there in the NRC, and I have been asked by the NRC authorities to go and submit my biometrics. So when I advised that, the old gentleman, 77-year-old professor, I said, sir, please go and submit your biometrics. He paused, and then the voice, which on the other side of the phone, was a person who broke down. His voice was choking. He broke down. He said, I can't go. It hurts my dignity. And he repeatedly kept on saying, it hurts my dignity. It hurts my dignity. And that was the first time. Like, this is 2018, and I have been practicing in Guwahati for then by 4 years already over. And I have never. I have, of course, in the preamble, the dignity word is written, and I must have read judgment before that. But that word never, hit me so hard. The word dignity. I feel that Bengali Muslims are the most persecuted community. That in other part, even if this Baburization and if the Mughalization of everything, but here the state directly tells you that you are not a citizen. There is an infrastructure, they call it a due process. At the pretext of the due process, your citizenship, your entire existence is taken away. Your right to have other rights is taken away. And this is not the only one thing. Everything that happens, flood happens, Bangladeshis. Now they call it flood jihad.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the present status. I mean, there's this continuous threat of non-belonging has been there for a while, but with the present chief minister, have things got worse, and in what ways?
So when this man, the current chief minister, he went to the BJP in 2015. So the 2016 there was a general election when the BJP came to power, and the entire plank was Bangladeshis. The entire plank was Bangladeshis. That we will, take back the voting citizenship cutoff date to 1951, which the government has, the Supreme Court has, upheld 6A, so it's 1971 now. So come talk about election, talk about anything, it's the Muslim. He started, when he became the chief minister, he started doing away with madrasas.
With the present chief minister, we're also seeing where a chief minister is openly breaking all constitutional sort of boundaries with impunity, with defiance, and is hate mongering in a way that is extremely dangerous. So all of that has come through what you've spoken, Aman, and I'm sure it will stay with anyone who listens to you for a long time. But a question I still want to ask you is that you set out in 2014 to fight for your people, to fight for justice, to defend the constitution, to uphold the India of Nehru and Gandhi and Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Are you losing hope, or do you see hope? And if so, where do you see hope? That's my last question for you.
I don't know how to answer this question, but
Yeah. I know that the situation is one where one is pulled into despair. But if you had completely despaired, you'd have stopped fighting. So where are you getting your strength
over
from?
the period of my working, I have developed a deep sense of belonging to the Constitution, to the the values enshrined in the Constitution, and and probably these words of this few wise men give me hope. How much we execute it, it's on us, but this is what is giving us. This what gives me hope. The word fraternity, fraternity assuring the dignity of individual and unity and integrity of the nation. So I think this is the most inspiring line.
Absolutely.
I think
for me as well.
Yeah. So fraternity assuring the dignity of individual. Of course, there are forces who are trying to destroy the fraternity, but I think it is our work. The moment we give up, the hope is the only thing that keeps us alive. It's not about the political scenario, but also in our life. When I read Quran, when I read Quran, I realize that giving up hope is almost giving up on Allah. And I'm a religious man. I can't give up my God, and I can't give up on my constitution. These are the two greatest inspiring books. The Quran and the Constitution is in my life. And whenever I am depressed, I go back to these two books, and I try to remember what the founding fathers, the conditions through which they went, and their dream to see India where everyone lives with dignity. And I have this, I don't know, a lot of people will not agree with me, but because I believe in religion, I also believe in the last day. And I have some bucket list to people who should I meet in the last day, and that includes Nehru and Gandhi, and probably a very argumentative Ambedkar also. So when I dream about meeting Nehru, Gandhi, Ambedkar, Maulana Azad, I'm sure the conversation, I need to read a lot to talk to that man. These are not mere fantasy. I genuinely believe, and I genuinely want to talk to them. If they ask me, what did you do for our dream, the dream of India? We worked hard to make the country free. We work hard. They will tell us that we work hard to and give the country to you. What did you do? Probably for that day, for that answer, we need to keep the hope alive.
That's really beautiful, Aman. And I think if that day ever comes, you'll be one of not many people who will be able to look at Gandhi and Nehru and Ambedkar and Maulana Azad in the eye and say that my entire life I devoted to defend and uphold the values for which you fought for. So thank you so much, and thanks a lot, and good wishes for your continuing battles. You give us hope and you give us pride. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Partitions of the Heart. You can find more Himal podcasts like the South Asia Review of Books and State of South Asia on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Support Himal's independent journalism by becoming a Himal patron today. We'll be back soon with another great conversation. See you then.